Hello, and welcome to the American Veteran. I'm Dale Parrish, your host, with Carl Fowler as a co-host. Our guest today is Bernard Huesing, Korean War veteran, and Al Lefevre. He's sitting in. We just completed a show with him. He was on our previous show. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you. It's good to be
Bernie,
here.
You was in the Korean War.
Yes, sir.
Your ship was off the coast of Korea.
That's right. The USS Herbert J. Thomas, DDR 833. I got a picture of it here, but first I want to talk about when I joined up in Indianapolis. A bunch of us decided to join the Navy, but it was a 4-year enlistment. So we went together on a train to San Diego, the Santa Fe Express from out of Indianapolis, and it took us a couple of days to get there, and it's the farthest away I've ever been in my life. I just turned 19. So it was quite an experience just getting away from home. And so all us fellows from Indianapolis went through boot camp together, and then we were assigned all over the place. I got a picture here of what I looked like way back when. This is in Hawaii. I made a stop there, and you could see Diamond Head, I think, in the distance there. But we went out and rented a car one day and decided to get out of the bars and get out and see Hawaii and
be a tourist.
Yes, be a tourist. And so we rented a car. But that's when I was about 20 years old, I guess, somewhere in there. And here's a picture of my ship. It's a destroyer. The USS Herbert J. Thomas. I had it blown up. I was a sonarman, listening for submarines and water mines. My station was below line there. It was 2 decks down. And we would man the sonar console 24 hours a day. We had 8 sonarmen and 9 in wartime, and we would constantly watch a scope for anything that might look like a submarine or a water mine. And we protected the aircraft carriers like they protected your tanker during the war. And there'd be a screen around there so that we would detect any submarines or else take the blow ourselves rather than the aircraft carrier. That ship had a very thin shell. I'm reading from my crib sheet here. It's 40 feet wide, 400 feet long, and it a little bit longer than a football field. But it could move at about 42 miles an hour, 36 knots. And the wartime complement we had was 336 men, 40 to a compartment, and the bunks were 3 high, if you recall that. And the foot lockers were down below where you kept your thing. So sonar shack, as they called it, was a small room, about 6 by 4 with the equipment in it. And right outside there was the sleeping compartment, and my bunk was there. So that was 4 years aboard the same ship. I tried to get transferred to instructor duty or else another ship. And they said that my experience was such that they didn't want me to leave. And so eventually, I made first-class petty officer and had 8 men under me. It's equivalent of a sergeant. I don't know what the E5 or what, but that was after 3 years. I got promoted every year. I had to take tests in sonar to go to the next one. We were part of the 7th Fleet striking force, and we did shell bombardments around the coast of Korea using our 5-inch guns, which could shoot a 55-pound projectile all 9 miles, and we would get the coordinates from aircraft from the aircraft carriers of planes, and they would radio back, and we would set our guns for to try to take out radar installations and also concentrations of troops. We call it the bomb line, where we go along at full speed and fire as we went, and with the to get the Korean troops and later on Chinese troops. I was in from 1952, and then 53 in July the armistice was signed, and then I still had 2 more years in which we cruised around Hong Kong and the Philippines and various places and exercises with the Chinese Navy and also with the British Navy.
Let me interrupt you a minute.
Sure.
It seemed like your ship got into a scrap at Wonsan. Was you on it then at that time?
No, that was well, it was reported when I got on just right after that they took a shell hit in the rear, and it did a little damage. But we lost in our squadron. We lost a couple of ships to water mines.
Yeah.
One of ours was a USS Brush, a sister ship, and it hit a water mine and lost 9 men, all sonarmen, way down below. And then there was another Mansfield hit water mine, and there was 25 men killed on that one. Yeah. So there was a lot of mines floating around there that they planted, and you had to get them first, or else they'd get you. For uninitiated, they're about that big, and they had spikes on them, and they floated right below the water, so you really couldn't see them until you got right up to them. And a lot of times we would take our 40 millimeter and blow them up from there, and even rifle fire could do it sometime. Yeah. So it was quite an experience being there, and I never did get over. I still have things about being on a ship and hitting a mine, because there was no way out of where we were. There was just no way. They battened down the hatches in order to keep the ship afloat.
And you're below the water line, so you can't get out.
Yeah, and that was quite a stressful area, and I still have nightmares about once or twice a year now. It's easing off now about drowning aboard that ship, because we were certainly in harm's way. And you didn't know at 18, 19 years old, you don't know whether you're going to die or not, and that was the case. But we did survive, and I got out, and on the GI Bill, I started in college right away. But 4 years is a long time. I just want to read a little quote here. This is about being aboard ship. No man will be a sailor who has contrivance enough to get himself into a jail, for being in a ship is being in a jail, with the chance of drowning, being drowned. A man in a jail has more room, better food, and commonly better company. And this is by Samuel Johnson, a patriot and a writer a couple of centuries ago. And that is still the case. I mean, it's just there's no place to go, and
that's one reason I didn't want anything to do with the Navy.
Yeah.
Same here. I was in the Army, and I looked at the Navy as being out on this big, vast body of water. And if anything happens to you, there's no place to go.
Mm-hmm.
And
down.
Only one person we ever knew of walked on water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And none of us was going to do it. So you get the ship blown out from under you, you're in terrible shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is kind of what we have with the Korean Veterans Association, showing as a result of the work that all the servicemen in Korea did. This is South Korea. You see how well lighted it is? This is a satellite picture. This is North Korea.
Yeah.
Hardly anything.
38th parallels. Right
there.
Right there.
So, South Korea is an industrial giant now, and making cars which we drive here in Indiana. Different signs of it. But North Korea, now under Kim Jong-un, the son of the dictator before, is all materialistic minded. Some people are living in poverty there, while South Korea, who we liberated, is doing quite well.
It's flourishing real well.
Mm-hmm.
Lit up and everything, and the other area is dark.
Yes.
I've heard people say, well, we didn't win. I gotta disagree with that.
Oh yeah, we drove them back where they belong. So
Ask any
that
South
to me
Korean whether we won or not.
Yeah, that was a victory as far as it's the unforgotten victory.
Yeah.
I have a couple of this little stuff. This is an old flat hat that was a winter outfit of a sailor back then, and it's got some years on it now, 60 years. And this is a rather unique. Now, this is the bell-bottom trousers, coat of navy blue. Remember that song?
Yeah.
There are 13 buttons on the flap there, which you had to unbutton so when you have to go to the bathroom. It was kind of cumbersome, but and they changed that about 1955 to standard trousers. But
these bell bottoms, are they?
well, they got bell bottoms on. I'll show you. See?
Mm-hmm.
And the way you adjust the waist was rather unique too. This strings back here, and you tighten it up or loosen it up. That's yeah. So they were nice and nice and kind of fun to go on liberty in them. It catches people's attention, but
you could just about say one size fits all. But
yeah,
that's not necessarily true. But
yeah. But my blouse that I wore then is much too small for me now, and in fact I think I did away with it. But
yeah, we've all grown up since then.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's all the show and tell I have. It was quite an experience, and thank goodness they had the GI Bill when I got out. So because at the time, it's no way I could have done it. So it helped me get through 4 years, and I'll be grateful for that. But I do think 4 years is too long to be aboard one ship.
Yeah. What all armament does a destroyer have?
It had two 5-inch guns on the rear and one on the front, I think, and then we had hedgehogs, which would fire rockets out in a circular pattern around the submarines located. A lot of 40 millimeter on both sides of the ship, which would later changed to 3-inch guns. They modernized it, and they were made an awful crack. 40 meters with the Second World War, pump, 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 pump.
Yeah, it was a Bofors gun. 40 millimeter was basically anti-aircraft, but you could also use it against shore installations, couldn't you?
Yes, if you were close enough.
But when they switched to a 3-inch gun, then they got away from the anti-aircraft type thing, didn't they?
Yes, it was more of a
basically then you're shooting at shore
I was
installations.
When I first came aboard ship, you have to be in the deck force, and I was an ammunition passer on a 40 millimeter mount. Then you strike for a certain thing, and my test scores were high enough to get me into sonar, and it was a better life, but it has its hazards down below. But I learned electronics. I went to school a couple times, and that's what I specialized in when I got out.
Electronics.
Did you ever meet anybody you knew?
Oh yeah, you mean aboard ship?
Yeah. He was in the Navy.
Yes. No, I met one guy from Indianapolis, had a shindig down there, but I reacquainted myself with a buddy named John Hill who lives in Pueblo, Colorado now, and he's worked the rest of his life with the state as a surveyor, and we met at a motel in Pueblo, Colorado Springs, and we had about a 3-hour lunch, and I correspond with him at Christmas time, and it's we have a lot of tales to talk about. He was a third-class gunner's mate, and of course I was down below, but we were together a lot. We did a lot of liberty together.
Al, did you ever meet anybody you knew when you was in the Navy?
Just once.
Once.
We were refueling some submarine, a destroyer escort, and just happened to be he was from Fort Wayne too. But that's the only guy I ever saw, except for my brother that was on a submarine tender.
Oh, you met a brother then?
Yeah, he is out there too on a submarine tender.
Well, that'd be something.
Okay. Now you say you was a sonar man, and That's wearing earphones. You watching the scope, was you?
Watching the scope, but we had the sound piped in, so we didn't have to wear the darn earphones all the time.
Oh, okay.
And there would be, when they had general quarters, somebody would be at the console. Then there'd be 2 other guys in there at the rangefinder and a plotting thing, and then the officer in charge would be have headphones on. He would be talking to the bridge.
Now I understand sonar. You send out a signal like radar, and you get a return signal, right?
That's right. It's a sound. It's a sound transmitter that hangs below the ship. It's about around as this, but it got rods in it, and the rods are electrically impacted and sends the sound out in a circular pattern around the ship for about a mile. And if there's an object out there, it strikes the object, the echo comes back. They call it echo ranging, and then it appears a blip on the screen, and you also hear it hit.
What I'm leading up to is, I can understand how that would work off the steel hull of a ship. I also understand that you could hear whales.
Oh yes, yeah. In fact,
and now a whale is, skin and so forth. I wouldn't think a signal would bounce back from them, but you hear them, don't you?
Oh yes, they make a perfect target. And there were several whales blown up by destroyers thinking that it was a submarine because they were they just moved in the same pattern.
Yeah,
so
and they're quite huge anyway, some of them. And
yeah. Or you'd hear awful sounds from the depths of the ocean.
That's why I was wondering. You probably hear all kinds of sounds, don't you?
Put on listen rather than just pinging. Put on listen, and you would hear shrimp and all kind of really weird sounds, like oh, and you wonder what is down there.
That make a noise like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may not want to know.
Right. We would have that on even outside of Korea. Going across back to the United States, we would be manning that 24/7 because of obstacles in the water or training purposes or whatever. So it got to be quite a home.
Yeah. Now, did you also hear noises from the ship itself? Somebody drop a wrench or something this way?
No.
Because you blow water, right?
Yeah, below water, and the object would be too little to pick up.
Okay, I just wondered whether
you
had ship noises to interfere.
You could pick up the water mines and of course other submarines.
That echo would also tell you the distance away.
Exactly, tell you the range, and also you could predict which direction it's heading by the sound of the echo. If it's coming towards you, it would be a higher sound, just like a train, a higher sound coming towards you, and then when it's gone away from you, it'd be a lower
Doppler
sound.
effect.
But a Doppler effect. So, it was a very interesting thing to be involved. But I wish I could have gotten off that ship more often.
4 years on the same ship. That's
that's
tough duty.
You didn't hit where you could get off ship very often?
Not during the wartime. We were on. We'd go in just for provisions, but a lot of times we would take our fuel right off of the tankers, our aircraft carriers. They'd shoot a line over, then they'd bring that hose over, and then refuel us. And we would look up at those aircraft carriers. They were going just steaming straight, and we were just bobbing all over. That was the worst part. I mean, when you come be on shore for a little bit, then you get out to sea. The secret is eating saltine crackers, and they would kind of soak up that bile in your stomach. But that was the secret. And then about 3 days later, you'd have your sea legs back. But we get into some horrendous storms where the ship would rock, would go down this way, and you think you're going to just lay over your side, and then they come up and then go on the crest of a wave like that, and then go down again. And we were trying to sleep. We had straps, canvas straps that we would put on our bunk so we wouldn't roll out of the bunk. It was, and we went through a number of horrific storms, and we had just finished reading The Cane Mutiny. And remember, they
Didn't give you
took
any
over.
ideas, did it?
Yeah, it took over for Captain Quigg because they thought he's froze at the helm. And then we were passing that thing around till it was dog-eared. It's just into shreds. But it was always in the back of your mind when you went over like that you would hope you'd come back.
Yeah.
You've been on ship, I've been on ship, in those storms. And like you say, you go up on a wave, and you can see for miles.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly you go down, and you look around, and you can't see nothing but water around you, and it's above your head.
Absolutely.
You're down in a trough.
Yeah,
And those ships are big, and you're down,
Yep.
and you're looking around, and all you see is a wall of water.
That's right.
Yes, we had a typhoon like that one time, and like you said, I'd say you're above another ship when another ship was beside of us.
Yeah, he'd be
I'd
down
say
below
you were at least 80, 100 feet above them. The next time they're up in the air, then you're down that low.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, just
Yeah.
change that way with the waves.
It
Right.
was. It's quite an experience.
If you had a full load, though, it'd probably a little better, wasn't it, than
Well,
running empty?
yeah, the tanks that was empty of oil, we had to pump in water, and
Okay.
that kept us down in the water, so we
Alright.
wouldn't
Yeah, rocks.
I
and
guess
rock
you'd
so
have
bad.
to, yeah.
Yes, but you're right about those crackers. I got seasick easy.
Uh-huh.
That's what they gave me was sardine crackers, and
Yeah.
that really helped.
Yeah, I have friends now that are great boaters, and they take people out, and I tell them feed them saltine crackers when they get
Yeah,
feeling sick.
you two guys was Navy guys. You was lucky. You had saltine crackers. I wished I had some.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
major necessity.
You probably went through that problem then, rocking that much out in the water. You don't sit at a table, eat off of a plate either. You eat sandwiches
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the plates would fall clear on the floor.
Slide right off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't. If you had a tray coming past you might not want to know what was in it.
That's right. It was you slop over, and if it was serving, it would slop over into. You couldn't tell which was mashed potatoes and which was
Yeah.
squash.
Sure.
It was another thing. They would during the South Pacific. They couldn't change fresh water from salt water, and the ship couldn't do it fast enough. And they would turn off. They padlock the showers and padlock even the sinks, so you couldn't even brush your teeth. And I used to go. They had one water fountain working in the mess hall, and I'd go up and take a cup of water and go out on the deck and brush my teeth and do it that way. But we'd go for weeks in the worst kind of hot weather. We had no air conditioning back then. It was the Second World War destroyer.
Yeah.
No air conditioning. We'd just have the same sweat for 2 weeks, until our mattresses, for about that thick, were just soaking wet. So you have to climb back into it till you got in port. Then you'd put them out, hang your mattresses out.
Yeah.
But it's still, if you're down in the Philippines, it's so hot down there, you never get dry. So you have to put them back down below and lay in your sweaty cots. It was
Yeah, humidity was quite high
Yeah.
in those areas.
it was the best part of going in port was that you could get off the ship and get some fresh water and settle down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, when was your ship in Korea?
1952 and 53.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the thick of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So you guys probably did quite a bit of shelling.
Yeah, we did a lot of shoreline, like I said, bombardment, bomb run going along the coast and shooting, and a lot of it was plane guarding around the carriers. We got plane guarding where the ship, if these Navy pilots, I can't believe these guys, they come in, shot up after a mission, and they would miss the deck and they'd fall into the sea, and there'd be helicopters trying to pick them up. But sometimes they would just sink so fast, there's no way to get them. We'd get over there and the helicopters would beat us, but we picked up some down seamen, pilots. But it was pathetic. We'd see the airplane belly in, and then
Go down, the guy wouldn't get out.
yeah, and the guy couldn't get out fast enough. So yeah, it was quite an experience in that 7th Task Force.
Yeah.
Well, the destroyers, they're used more for ship-to-ship battles or ship-to-shore.
Yeah, there were a number of destroyers lost in the Second World War, and a few in Korea, but mostly the Koreans didn't have very good navy. But they had a good fighting force, and then the Chinese communists came in, you know, and they were came down. We finally drove them back, but basically we were protecting the carriers, hitting certain targets with our 5-inch guns. But yeah, and the water mines is what scared the heck out of everybody.
Sure. You said there wasn't much.
It's about the thickness of the outer skin was about like that.
That's all, huh?
Yeah, but they were fast, and
Oh,
that's why they made them so light. But they could, go like 42 miles an hour, equivalent 36 knots. But
what is a knot?
Well, it came from the old nautical thing about they would see how deep it is by tying foot-long knots and dropping them over, and they were coming into port, and that's how many knots, and then it just drifted into nautical history.
Okay. Well, we're out of time. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Thanks for being on the show, Al.
Al?
I enjoyed it.
Pleasure meeting you.
Yes.
Nice
Thank you
talking
for
to
joining us. Starting the first year, this show will be on a half hour earlier. So Friday nights at 7 o'clock, be sure to tune in. Remember, freedom is not free, so thank you and good night.